Hello! My name is Velma and I am from Chris Family Farm, and I would like to share a blessing with you. I came across this little blessing back in July. I found it. My uncle had passed away and I was grieving, and I had made him a quilt, and my family allowed me to put it in his coffin. And I'm very thankful for that, because while I was making the quilt, I was able to process through my grief. And sewing to me is so much more than just needle and thread and a machine. To me, it is where I pray. It is where I go to worship. It is where I just talk to God. And I want to share this with you because I feel the need that I need to share a way of letting someone you love and someone that you are praying for, letting them know and giving them a little reminder that God loves them and so do you, and you're praying for them. So a few years ago, I made what I called prayer pillows. And these pillows, I came up with a little saying, and I used my embroidery machine to make these pillows. And I would embroider I got little lints all over this, a pillow full of prayers. So while I was making these pillows, I would do the embroidery and I would think of a specific person, and I would actually pray for that person for whatever need that they needed at the time. For an example, I would pray for healing or safe travels, things that people needed. And as I was stuffing the pillow with the little pillow stuffing, I would also pray for that person. The whole process I would pray. These pillows were made out of 8-inch squares. You would use 2 of them and you would sew them together and you would leave an opening. So here is my opening. This is one of my very first pillows that I was still learning on how to make these. So I would leave an opening, turn it out, poke out your corners and all that as you would make a pillow. And then I would stuff it. And I eventually taught myself. I would do research and everything on Google, Pinterest, whatever I needed to find research. I would ask people for help because I wanted to make this stitching to where you could not see the thread on the bottom. And I eventually learned how to do I think it's called a ladder stitch, where you sew it to where you can't tell there's stitches there. So I don't know if you've watched my videos before or anything. I have dyslexia, have a learning disability, and I struggle really, really hard with this. And I cannot read very well. I cannot do math very well. So my learning, my education, as far as school goes, is not very... I would be in what we called, when I went to school, a resource class. And that's not going to stop me, and it shouldn't stop you. I want to encourage people, and I want to share this blessing with people, that it doesn't matter what your disability is, you can bless someone, and you can share God's love. So, with that being said, I want to go through the process of how I make a pocket prayer quilt, because my embroidery machine broke, so therefore I cannot use the embroidery machine because it's cheaper to go buy a new one, and the one that I had was from Walmart, so it was like $400 or $500 range, and it's cheaper to buy a new one versus get it fixed. And I don't have the money for neither. So I went for about a year or so, maybe longer, and I quit making the pillows because I didn't have the ability to. And then I came across these little pocket prayer quilts. So I make these little tiny prayer quilts. and I give them away, or people donate $1 to help pay for the cost of the crosses and, the paper and the ink. So it's not, I mostly want to bless people with this because we all need a hug from God. So here is let me make sure I get a good angle here. The little saying, whoopsies. And it says, a pocket prayer quilt square. A little hug from God to carry you through the day. May the presence of someone praying for you bring you comfort, hope, peace, and safe harbor, found in each stitch created especially for you. I did not come up with this prayer on my own. I'm not that smart. I do pray, and sewing is one of my ways that I pray and worship God through worship music. I love bluegrass, southern gospel music. It's the best. Anyways, I found this on Pinterest. I was actually on Facebook one night before I was getting ready to leave to go to my uncle's funeral, and I was following this group on Facebook and found one of the ladies had commented, "What do you do with your scraps?" And I was like, I love getting scraps. People give me scraps all the time. These little quilts were made out of scraps. And I started reading her comment. I normally don't read people's comments. I normally just reply or just keep strolling because I get really nervous being around people and talking to people. So I'm a little nervous doing this video. But something led me to want to read those comments, and I came across another lady whom commented in reply saying she makes prayer quilts out of these, like pocket prayer quilts, and that's how I found this. She had a picture of it in the comments, and she said something about Pinterest, so I went to Pinterest. I did not get in trouble this time. I go to Pinterest a lot and I get in trouble. But I came across this prayer, so I do not want to take credit for this. However, I do want to bless someone with the knowledge of making a pocket prayer quilt square. Say that 10 times fast. So I'm going to go through the process as best as I can. You can make these any way you want. You can be more, precise on what size block. I mean, normally the blocks are smaller than 5-inch square. This one has came out to a little over 4 inches. And what I do is I typically just do a 4-patch. And I'm using 2.5-inch squares that was given to me from someone who gave me a bunch of fabric, and there was all these little tiny squares in there, and I never knew what to do with them. So now I know. I am going to be making prayer quilts. So what I'm doing now is I am opening up, because I've already sewed these two together, and I am going to do a 4-patch. So I'm going to put you on pause and adjust my camera. Okay, well, now that I got my camera adjusted, what I'm going to do is nest these seams together and make me a little 4-patch. So what you want to do is make sure your seam allowance on one is facing one way. So this would be your seam allowance where you sewed your 2 pieces of fabric together. You want to nest those together. You can pin it. It's up to you, however you want to do that. And then you want it to be like that. Now, not saying that it's going to be perfect when it comes out, but we'll see. So I've got those nested together, and I'm going to sew them. So we're going to get started here. And I don't even have any batting ready, so I'm not going to do batting with this one. So let's check out the big reveal. Oh, look at that. I'm on point. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to turn my iron on. You don't have to iron, but I think I'm going to because it is not wanting to lay flat. And you want it to lay flat. So let me put you on pause and I will try to get some batting ready because I think I want to do batting. You don't have to do batting, but I want to. Alright, so I have a small piece of scrap batting here from a quilt that I've quilted over on my lovely Moxie. I call her my Foxy Moxie. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to lay me a piece of fabric on the bottom. This is a white scrap piece of fabric, stuttering here. And then I am going to lay my batting down on top of that. Okay, we're going to try to get it roughly in the middle. Put this where you can see it. So next I am going to get my crosses out and close my little container. I like to take scrap. That's what I have left over after I get done trimming. And I pick through and get, you know, a little piece of, tiny piece of batting. And I'll lay my cross in there. And then I just wrap it around to give it a little bulkiness in the quilt. So my cross is wrapped. And as I'm doing all this, I say a prayer. I always pray. I'm always talking to God. I'm talking to you right now on this video, and I'm still in my mind having a prayer. So you want to kind of put your cross in the middle where your 4 pieces of fabric meet, but you're going to do that on the back side where your wrong sides are. So, what I do is I put that on here like that, and then I pinch it with my thumb and my finger, and I lay it on here as centered as possible to make sure at least the top piece is covered. You know, the batting is underneath there. And you can feel that there is a bulk right there. That's your cross. So I will go over and I'm going to pick me a design stitch because I think it's pretty. And here lately I've been liking number 20 on my machine. This machine I bought at Walmart. It is a Brother SQ9285 computerized sewing machine. Make sure all my threads are in the back. This is out of the way. So I'm going to go about halfway down and be close to the raw edges with my pressure foot. Put my foot down. Do like a back stitch to lock in stitches. And then I'm going to sew down to the corner here. And I'm going to pivot. So I'm going to try to keep my hands out of your way. And make sure I feel where that cross is. So I'm going down to this corner. There's more than just one way to, and you know what? Let me put you on pause because apparently I don't know how to fill a bobbin either. Look at this. She's so lovely. So give me a second. Rookie mistake, right? Got my bobbin in, or thread it. I don't know Do you just love how you're doing a sewing project and you're sewing along and you're feeling really confident and you ain't got no bobbin? Well, let's try this again. Should thread my top needle. That might be a good thing to do too. So I want to also spread a little confidence to the person out there who feels, oh, dad burn it, come on now. Trying to thread a needle, sorry. Like they can't do nothing because they have, oh, pickle frickles. Come on now, let's get this in there. Apparently I can't do two things at once. I don't know how to thread a needle. Not any other time, I don't have this problem. But for some reason, I'm having this problem. Why? Oh, why? Okay, she's threaded through. So I think I'm going to make sure. That's a good thing. An example I also wanted to share. Sometimes you need leaders for your projects. So it's always good to have a little stash of scraps, little tiny blocks or whatever, to start a leader. And that is a piece of fabric that just helps make sure your bobbin's in right. It helps you to check your threads and your tension and stuff. And you want to do that before you do like a big project. Not that doing a top stitch on this, you don't want to do this and you have to pick it out because your machine wants to be a turd. So let's do this little piece here. And of course I left my design and stitch in because I'm just that smart instead of changing to a straight stitch. But it's okay. We're good. So review on, you want to have your bottom fabric, your batting, and make sure your cross is in the center in between your batting and your top piece. I guess you want to call it your quilt top. This is how I do it. You don't have to do it this way. This is just a general ideal to share a blessing with someone you love and a prayer. Now I want to do a couple lock stitches, back stitches, or whatever you want to call it. And we're going to go down to the corner and pivot. And it looks like we have thread this time. Wow! I've done something right. Alright, so when you get close to the edge, you leave your needle down, you turn your fabric, put your pressure foot back down after you raise it, because I didn't say you to raise it. Oh, this video is going to be everywhere! Okay, let's go down to this corner and go all the way to the edge. I would give you measurements, but to be honest, I don't really know. Now, if you have to do what I just did, was I wanted to make sure that my pressure foot is even to the raw edges of my top piece fabric. I'm not so worried about this bottom or the batting sticking out here because that will be taken care of here in a short moment. So I want to smooth everything out. Make sure your cross is still in the center of this quilt top. And just sew on down with your pressure foot up against the raw edges. I really like doing the designer stitches on this because you get to play around with stitches on your machine that you don't normally use, because 9 times out of 10 you're probably using a straight stitch or a zigzag stitch. I don't know what you're using, but I use a straight stitch a lot on this one. So we're going to pivot and we're going to go down to this bottom again. You don't have the top stitches. You can also do I don't even know the correct words for it. It's kind of like how you do a no binding method for a quilt. You just turn it, put all your pretty sides together, and then you would sew it, leave it an opening, and then you would turn it inside out. So we are going to come down here to where these stitches meet, and I'm going to do a lock stitch there as well. So I'm going to kind of overlap that and do a lock stitch and pull this out. And where's my scissors? My scissors have feet, they walk away. Does yours have feet and walk away? Clip in the threads. I always tell people I'm blind in one eye, can't see out the other. That is my little joke. You gotta have humor in life. Clip that thread. So a little story about these scissors. I saved up the money and bought these scissors, right? And maybe a few weeks later, my embroidery machine started messing up on me. I was like, fine. Alright, so enough of me babbling. What I'm going to do is I'm going to cut as close to this stitch line as possible. If you have pinking shears, I think that's what they're called, you can use those. But I don't. I have these lovely embroidery scissors that I am going to use. You do not want to cut your thread. Just so you know, it's not a very good idea. Not that I have done it or about to do it. Ooh, lordy day. That would have been bad. Because I have done it. Considering I can't say sometimes. And snippy, snippy, snippy. Pay attention to what you're doing, Velma. And just keep cutting. I gotta get this stuff off of me. There we go. And just keep cutting. Just keep cutting, cutting, cutting. Like a dory. I hope it's okay that I'm just weird, because I am by myself. And I talk a lot to myself or the dog, and the dog looks at me like I'm crazy. So, now that we have that done, move all my clippings away. Okay, shove that in there and show you what's we got done. And I see a little problem. Let me fix that little problem. And don't cut the threads. Okay. Alright. So that is how I make my little pocket prayer quilts. And then, because I have my cross inside, it's in there, I can feel it. I have the little prayer that goes with it. What I do is, since I typed this up on my printer, I just take a pair of scissors that are not fabric scissors. Just so you know, do not use fabric scissors on paper because it's horrible. And I just cut close to that edge. And then I feel my cross to make sure it's not upside down. And this is the bottom here. And I'll lay that there on that. And I will get me a little Ziploc bag that are from Walmart, like everything else, and put this inside the bag. And then I put it inside my little basket that my lovely aunt gave me because she's awesome. So there's other ways that you can make the quilt as well. You do not have to do a top stitch. You can do a make sure I pause that so I can readjust my camera. I'm sorry. You can do a where you would sew it to where your pretty sides are facing together and leave a small opening and turn that out, and you can put drop your cross down in there and then do a top stitch around that. To me, this is saving a step to where you just put all your pieces together, do a pretty top stitch, and just cut off the edges, and then you have a good bit of scraps. There are things that you can do with these scraps. If you want to save them, you can paper and all. I mean, you can save the paper too, the little paper clippings that you cut off of your thing. You can take and keep these all bundled up, put them in a bag, which I have a bag over here. And then I take all the little scraps like this and I make little stuff for my dogs, like little pillows for my dogs, or just anything for my dogs. That's what this goes into, is my dog stuff for their pillows and whatnot. You can even put it in a pincushion. So I made this pincushion. It has my little needles that I hand sew with for closing up pillows, and then one pin because the other ones are over there by the quilting machine. I needed that to, I don't even know what I was working on, to be honest. And I have threads all over me. So that is pretty much it. You can bless someone with just a simple, tiny prayer and a little tiny quilt. There's a lot of people in your family or people that you know that could be having a rough time, and they just need a little simple reminder that there is someone praying for them and that God loves them. So if you like watching this video and me and my weirdness, because I feel really nervous behind the camera still, but I would like to do more videos on things. If you would like to see more videos about quilting or my farm animals, please let me know in the comments below. I do not consider myself as a teacher because I don't feel like I qualify enough for a teacher, but I would be happy to share what I know, or, you know, what people's taught me. So I would like to give you a blessing and share with you joys of being dyslexia. You can't read, write, or talk. Gosh. And my name's Velma. You would think I would be smart because of Scooby-Doo. Okay. Anyways, that's like a family joke. I've lost it, people. And I done forgot what I was going to say. My blessing. That's what I was going to say. I wanted to share my blessing with you with this pocket prayer quilt. I hope this makes you laugh. I hope this could share some joy. And I hope you know that God loves you, and so do I. You guys have a good day. Bye.